I am so excited to share this conversation with you with one of my best friends in the entire world. His name is Mekel, and he was living his best life one minute. He had his wife and his two children by his side, and then all of a sudden, one day, the rug got swept from under his feet. And in this conversation, he tells you about what happened with his wife's health complications and the up and down struggles that he's dealt with ever since, and he's still continuing to deal with, as unfortunately we're not at the end of the road yet. I'll let him tell you in his own words, and I hope you enjoy this video. As always, please be kind to people because you do not know the struggles that they are dealing with under the surface. Here's the conversation with Mekel. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mekel. Like I've known Rhiannon since I was 19, so 2006. Um, I work with young people primarily. That's my main job. But on the side, I do a bit of sports coaching and other little bits and pieces.
There's so many things that both you and I could talk about, but what is the thing that we're going to discuss today that you have personally found challenging?
So,
Do you want to sort of
just
like
over,
tell a little bit of a backstory about how it all begun?
yeah, so just over 2 years ago, my wife got ill, and we are still in the recovery phase and the process of of her illness, basically.
But the thing is, it wasn't just an illness, was it? It was kind of like she was here 1 second and then the next, like your whole world got turned upside down. Like it was pretty severe what happened. It wasn't just, everyone goes through certain health issues and stuff. It wasn't just your average health issue.
So the bit of the backstory was, um, she had just gone back to work after adoption leave, and she was back for the week and it was fine. And then she was ill over the weekend, and we thought she was hamming it up, putting it on. Well, I did anyway. And then she took the Monday off, went back in on Tuesday, and then Tuesday night she had a couple of seizures at home, in bed. Worried and panicky, I called an ambulance. And even then, it was a case of the paramedics just said, pack an overnight bag, we'll take you to the hospital, but we reckon you'll be home tomorrow. And that was over 2 years ago. And it turns out it was a lot more complex than anybody could have imagined at that time.
So obviously, other than the obvious, obviously that's your wife, that's your best friend, trying to navigate away with two little ones without her, what other issues did you face, or that it maybe some surprised you that you wasn't expecting?
It's the shift of, well, it's not knowing, and it's everything being played by ear. So I went to the hospital that day under the guise that will be home the next evening. So I called into work. I'm not coming in today. My wife's in the hospital, thinking I'd be back in the following day, and that just didn't happen. And then it's things like transitioning. Okay, the boys have gone to school and nursery the next day. They're fine and they're sorted. And then it's now this is more than a 1 day thing. Long, what am I going to do for the rest of this week? What about next week? And it was just a lot of not knowing and not really being prepared, because it, like you said, it came out of nowhere.
Do you ever wonder if the not knowing, although it was hard, maybe was the best thing? Because if you'd have known then, in 2 years' time, we're still going to be here, maybe that would have been too much to sort of like process at that time, and to sort of like kill any kind of hope or that you might have needed in that moment. Or do you just
I
think it was
think it's
just
a
too
bit.
hard?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because if I had known back then, 2 years later we'd be here, I could prepare for that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got my hopes up at several points along the process. But then at the same time, as they say, sometimes ignorance is bliss, and it kind of forces you to do a certain thing or act in a certain way. You just have to just get on and get things done, get things sorted. Yeah, it's a bit of both. It's a blessing and a
Yeah.
curse.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of touched on it a little bit just there about you wouldn't have got your hopes up at certain points along the journey. And I think it's important to highlight that, because I think that's the case with a lot of things, that, you know, it's not just, it hasn't just plateaued for 2 years. It hasn't all been downhill. It hasn't all been uphill. It's been like a roller coaster, you know. It's been
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you get like 1 step forward and then it's 4 steps back, and then like 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back, and it's this constant like yo-yoing of like a little bit of hope and then it's taken away, and a little bit of hope and then it's taken away. And sometimes I think that can be part of the struggle, because we're always constantly like, okay, well, we're just starting to get somewhere, and we have that little glimmer of hope and then it gets swept from under our feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just you feel like you're making the necessary steps and you're moving, everything's going in the right direction, and then step back. Okay, so you make the steps back and then you build up again, and then you get to the same point, and then a setback, and then the next time you get a little bit further and then setback, or sometimes you don't make it as far and there's a setback. And like the steps forward are great because you can see the progress and you feel it, and then but the setbacks are hard because, you know, what is it this time? Why is this happening again? Why are we not moved past that?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think part of the frustration is that this is all completely out of your hands? Like, there is nothing that you can do other than, you know, hope and pray and do everything within your power to assist. Obviously it's all like medical staff and, you know, people, there's nothing that you personally can do other than support her. Like, do you think part of the frustration comes from that? Because it's not even that you're not doing something or not being enough of whatever, it's just completely out of your hands, but yet you're still dealing with everything else.
So I've had a lot of frustrations along this, and the feelings of guilt. What if I did this, or what could have been done differently? Am I doing enough for her, for my family? But you're right, it is completely out of my hands, and all I can do is support her and our children and try and keep myself afloat, because if I'm not keeping myself afloat, like everyone tells me, I'm no good to anybody, and there's nothing I can do apart from just keep going and try and help her keep her spirits up when she's frustrated, keep the boys going in this real strange times that we're in, and without their mum being around.
You just said that you know, you're no good to anyone if you're not sort of at that level, and I agree with that. But again, even that can sometimes be a blessing and a curse, because it gives you a drive, a force to keep going. But at the same time, sometimes there's a lot of pressure when all you want to do is crumble and sometimes feel sorry for yourself, because it is such a lot that you're going through. Like, sometimes you just need to like have that moment and just sort of like feel down and process everything. But when you're being told to keep going, sometimes that's an added pressure.
You know, in yourself, you have to do certain things for yourself, and but you don't want to do them because you feel guilty and you feel selfish. Why am I doing this for me? Why am I sitting here doing something enjoyable for me when these people around me are in pain, or these people around me aren't feeling the best? I shouldn't be sat here doing this for me. I should be there doing this, doing something for them. I shouldn't be I shouldn't want this lazy weekend. I should be up and out with the boys doing something, keeping them entertained. But sometimes you just have to, and you learn to say, you know what, I have to do this for myself. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to do these things for you.
That is so true. And I'm all for that. Like, I get the guilt. I completely get it. I feel the guilt myself, but I 100% agree with you. Like, you literally, if you keep give, at some point, you're not going to have anything left to give. So you need to, like, you know, fill your own cup or recharge your batteries, or however you want to describe it. You need to have something for yourself, because then I feel like you're better equipped to deal with the constant up and down, and to deal with, you know, another setback, or even just day-to-day life. Like, I think not enough is said about how hard day-to-day life is, you know, with like work and kids and trying to have a social life and trying to, like, you know, fill your own cup. Like, it's just, and then on top of that you've got like housework and outside stresses and family, and like, I think it's so difficult just living that we don't give it enough credit. So I do think that
Yeah.
you're 100% right. Like, you need to do stuff for yourself. So on the subject of that, what have you found that helps you sort of like either rest or recharge or take your mind off things, or just that helps your mental health and your emotional health?
I When I was younger, I used to write creatively. I dip in and out of it. So sometimes I write blogs from just something pops up, and I'll talk about it just from my own personal perspective. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I feel a certain type of way. Let me put that out there. Or I write a poem or something. So I've dipped back into writing at one point. I tried to keep up my sport, which was difficult pandemic wise, but now things are starting to open back up again. I am recommitting to more training, more coaching, the sports coaching I said I did at the start. I'm trying to commit back to them while still keeping a family focus. So I'm not trying to commit to too many things. And also, I can't work full time Monday to Friday and then fill my weekend with more work commitments, because I will burn out again. So it's trying to find that balance in myself between, some days I will just sit on the sofa with my phone and I will just veg out and watch something. And then other days I'm more up and active. Right, boys, let's go park, let's go for a walk. Or some days when they're with their grandparents and I've got just the time to myself, it might just be catching up on sleep I don't get during the week. So I'm just trying to, when I get those pockets, I just try and do something that I know if it's something I need to do, then I'll make the time and I'll get it done. But then it's also trying to keep up my writing, getting what's in my mind just out there. Whether I share that or not, it depends. And also just trying to exercise, just trying to be healthy.
Yeah, I love that. And again, like what you just said, that, you know, every day is different. And it's not that this one thing helps, it's that you have to ask yourself every day, what can I do today that will make me feel good? And that might be sitting on the sofa and vegging out. It might be going for a walk. It might be like playing with your kids. It could be all different things depending on how you feel in that time. And I think that it's important to highlight that there's no like magic pill, there's no like wonder cure, because our lives are so up and down and we have such like diverse needs and likes, that it changes all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Some days I'm not in the mood to talk to anybody. So those are the days I'll put my phone on silent and I will ignore it. I'll ignore messages coming in. They can reply when I'm ready. There are other days where I want to be around people. So physically we can't. So that's when I'll make phone calls. I'll check in with people just to see how they're doing, because you don't know what someone else is doing, and it might just be wanting someone to say, how are you? Are you actually okay? I know I needed that. So it doesn't take a lot to send a message. So let me send that message on those days when I'm up for it. If I need to do something physical, I've got a lot of jittery energy and I need to get that out, then I will do that to get that out. And some days it's something really silly, but me and the boys will just have a dance around the living room. We've all got that jittery energy. They are two very hyperactive boys. So let's just jiggle. It might sound silly, but that's what we
No,
do.
but it doesn't. It's important. And I do think as well, because you have the two young kids, like they need a little bit of, let's not forget that their lives have been massively affected by this. So they need that little, that is never going to go away, the heaviness that they're dealing with right now. So let's give them little pockets of like fun and laughter and relief from the heaviness that they're dealing with, and whether that means running around the front room with them or dancing or whatever, like they need that, and you need that. Like you need to have those seconds, those like milliseconds of like carefreeness. Do you know what I mean? Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Like obviously you're not carefree, like I don't want to sound insensitive, but just those little like normality moments where you
yeah,
don't have to deal with like the heaviness of the world.
yeah. We just need to let our hair down and just have that moment.
Yeah. And I know you spoke about the kids being with their grandparents. So like I know, but like can you tell everyone what support you had around you, whether that was like personal support or professional support, or, and obviously only share what you feel comfortable sharing.
So during this whole time, because all of this started really, it was a really horrible time in general. My granddad passed away the month before, and my wife went into hospital 2 days before his funeral. So already things were a bit hazy. But on that night, my mother-in-law doesn't live far away, so she came round, stayed with the boys, got them ready for school, dropped them off, picked them up, and all through this, my in-laws have been taking them to school, picking them up, because I work full time in a school, so I can't do that in the mornings without massive changes to the structure of my day. So my in-laws have helped out with a lot of the Monday to Friday childcare. My parents then helped me out with weekends and the weekend childcare, and then the boys love it because Monday to Friday they see my wife's parents, and that's their aunties on that side and their cousins on that side, and then the weekends they see my parents and my brothers, so their uncles and all of that
So
extended
they're getting
family
spoiled all week basically.
all the time. It's got to the point where people that my parents work with are sending them Christmas gifts and
Oh.
Easter eggs and just randomly, this is for the boys, take this, and they are being spoiled by a lot of people. And it's little things like when they need clothes, my in-laws bought my eldest son bits of uniform just to top up what he had. His auntie bought him a new school bag because the one he had, I don't know if he didn't like it or if he just needed a bigger one, but she just went out and bought him a new school bag. And it's financial help that I didn't ask for, but people are doing because they want to, and it's really appreciative. Um, just, so it's the childcare, it's the being able to unload on my friends, a little message here and there. I've been offered support through work and through my local authority, because my eldest son went to school and said, well, what's happening, we're not doing well. And the head teacher called me and was like, can we put these things in place? I was like, absolutely, because for the sake of the boys, I'm not going to turn down that help. So it's a lot of little things that it seems really small at the time, but when you sit and think and piece everything together, as a unit, we've been supported greatly.
And it
Just
all adds
little
up.
things. It all adds up.
Yeah, all these little things that might seem insignificant to someone, like it all adds up. So like if you know anyone that's going through a difficult time, like anyone that's watching this that knows anyone that's going through a difficult time, like you said, a little message goes such a long way. Just a little act of kindness that to you might seem really insignificant, but to the person receiving it could mean a huge deal. You know, like you said, buying,
Absolutely.
was it a school bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's school bag. So not only is it the cost of the school bag, it's the having to go out to the shop to buy the school bag, finding the time. Obviously you're
Yeah.
wearing like 55 different hats at the minute, trying to like be dad, trying to be husband, trying to be employee, trying to be cook, trying to be cleaner, trying to be everything else. That one little task, by them relieving you of that task, just made things so much easier.
So much easier. Trying to go shopping with two boys is tough at times. Hold the trolley. They don't want to do it. They want to go look at this. They want to touch this. So people doing shopping for me and bringing it to my house, so I don't have to go out. Pandemic times when we couldn't. Just replacing school shoes, replacing casual clothes for the weekend. It's all of those little things that all have just contributed to our overall support package.
It's so frustrating sometimes when I'm dealing with myself and I'm like, I really want to say yes to this help, but like automatically, before even thinking about it, my mouth goes, no, I'm fine, thank you though.
I know I'm stubborn and hard-headed,
Yeah.
and I know this in myself. I can't change it. I've just accepted it as it is. It's just like when people ask me, I know in myself I'm having an awful day, and someone will ask me like, "How are you?" Oh, I'm okay. I have my good days and bad days, but I'm okay. And that is my stock answer, because I don't want to give you the tribe of, no, actually I'm really down and I feel like this and I feel like this, because now I feel like I'm taking up your time you set aside to give me, but I feel like you didn't really do that, and I don't want to be a drain on I don't want to bring your day down because I'm having a bad day.
Do you think that's a British thing? Because I feel like, when someone goes, "You're all right," you go, "Yeah, you." Like, even if you're having the worst day in the world, you'd be like, "Yeah, you." Like, we never be like, "Actually, no, I'm really struggling today." Like,
I wrote about this in a blog. We use "you okay" or "you all right" as a greeting rather than a question.
yes,
So
yes, it's not a
I'm not.
question.
It's
It's a statement
it's
almost.
yeah. You it is the same as hello. So you're not really. I don't feel like you're really asking me if I'm okay. You're telling me hello. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
respond with a response to your greeting.
that's
If
so
you,
true.
for me, if you want to know if I'm okay, you will ask the follow-up question. Then I know you're asking if I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then, don't get me wrong, I'm still stubborn and hard-headed. I might still tell you, no, I'm okay. I have my good days and bad days. But
Yeah,
then the other times I'm like, no, actually, no, I'm not doing too great.
yeah. So obviously you talked about your support system, and I know that you have like the nicest family in the world. Can you tell me, like, obviously you have a lot of support, and that is amazing, because literally, who can deal with anything all by themselves? I don't believe that anyone can. But what was the points where you felt maybe the most alone, or the most sort of like left to deal with things, or was there ever points like that you felt that I know I
Um,
have these people, but maybe it's not enough? Or
so the times when I feel the most alone is in the evenings where the boys are in bed, they're asleep. And it's not that I ever do want to leave my house, but it's the fact that I can't leave my house. All of a sudden, it changes the dynamic. It's not like I want to go to the shop all the time, but where I can't, it makes me feel a certain type of way. I feel very trapped in that scenario. I'm in the comfort of my own house. I'm very comfortable and leisurely, and everything is good. But it's the fact that, say, I fancy a drink that's not in my house, I can't go get it. Um, those are the times where I feel the most alone. because the person who I did used to spend all my evenings with currently isn't here. I know everyone's at the end of a phone, but then I know like my family live at home. They're probably chilling with each other. For me to call one takes them out of that dynamic, and I don't really want to do that. Again, the feeling of being a burden. I've never felt just left to deal with things on my own. My in-laws, like my sister-in-law, is really good with money and finance. So it was sitting down and just helping me renew my mortgage. All the things that my wife just took control over and went, just so you know, I've done this. Oh, okay. And everything was done by her. And then all of a sudden, there's no handover. So now I'm left doing things I never had to do before. But my sister-in-law stepped in and helped me with a lot of those things. My mother-in-law with the admin care side of decisions, hospital meetings, consultant phone calls. It just in general, if I'm spoken to a lot, I tend to drift away. And my mother-in-law being in a meeting with me or attending meetings for me when I wasn't mentally able to do it, and then relaying it back for me in a way that, in a manageable way, that was great. My mum also helping to step up and help me sort things. My dad used his connections to help me sort out my car. So to when I needed to replace my car, my dad stepped up and helped me do that. Just, again, childcare. My brothers, when they're around and they're available, the boys want to sit in their room and watch TV, and my brothers are being more than accommodating, even though they've got everything going on. So I've never really felt just, this is what you need to do, just go get on and do it. Everyone's been like, do you need help with this? And sometimes I'll say, yes, I do. And then other times I'm like, no, I've got this, I can do this. It's on my to-do list. I'll get it done.
I think that's so important. And I think that we forget that we are actually like, we're herd animals or pack animals, however you want to look at it. Like, we need to be in a community. We're always taught that like you need to have like all these A stars and A's in every single subject, and you need to be at the top of everything, you need to be the best of everything. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, because especially like on social media, you only see people's highlights of their lives, and you can feel so alone. So when you do have other people stepping in and using, you know, their strengths to help you, like you said, with like everyone who's like your dad with the car and your sister-in-law with finances and stuff like that, you know, that's their strengths. And it's okay that we're not the best at everything. It's okay that we don't know everything. And like, even like you said with your wife, that she's very hands-on with stuff like that. Like, if something needs done, it will get done yesterday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, and when you're in a partnership like that, you can kind of just let each other play to each other's strengths, because that's why you are such a good match, because she's good here and you're good here, so it sort of like balances itself out. And I know the same, me and my husband. But then the problem is that when all of a sudden, like, you've just sort of like been left standing to sort of do, and that's obviously not her fault, it's nothing that, you know, she could have done or you could have done. But do you think that this has, although you would never want to sort of like relive it, do you think this whole experience has forced you to sort of like up your game in some kind of way, or improve areas of yourself, or like, can you sort of see any sort of like, I don't want to say benefit, because it's not a benefit, but do you know what I mean, like a very small silver lining?
Mm-hmm. So it comes up in conversation with my mum a lot, in
Yeah.
that I've grown up a lot in the past 2 years, and I was thought I was mature and sensible, but I have grown up. Like, when it was sorting the mortgage. That was all my wife. She arranged all the meetings. She done all the research and whatnot. And now I'm looking at different rates and I'm shopping around. And then everything's I ever had to do car insurance wise. The first year I had to renew it, I literally just called up who I was with and said, give me what I had last year again. Yeah. And that's not the best way about it, but I literally had no idea what I was doing.
It's not, but at the same time, like, not only did you not know what you was doing, sometimes you're dealing with so much that you just don't need an added stress. So like you kind of like happy to just, for now, I'm happy to just pay that. So it's off my shoulders. It's one less thing I have to do. So I don't think you should beat yourself up about that, because I kind of think like at that moment, that's what you needed to do.
Yeah. Because what it was is I got the reminder letter saying it had expired, and I was literally just about to drive somewhere, and I was like, I can't have it that something happens on this journey. So I was like, no, let me just do this. But I have had to grow up, be more responsible, and that's one of the things me and my wife still joke about now. I keep telling her she needs to hurry up and recover, because I'm done with being an adult. I can't. This being an adult is too much.
It's overrated.
It's very overrated for me.
Yeah. What do you think, Nicola, your wife, would be most proud of you, like in this whole journey?
That I've actually managed to step up and keep things going. She does moan at me when I don't reach out for help that I need. She will moan at me a lot, telling me everyone around you is there to support you. Please reach out when you need it. And then, no, I'm okay. Good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have stepped up and become an adult, she tells me she's very proud of me for that.
Yeah. It's so funny that, even in spite of everything, Nicola is still kicking you up the butt. Like, she's still making sure you do stuff. So with everything that you've been through, all the highs, all the lows, if you could travel back in time to when you was in the thick of it, like right at the beginning, and you sort of like don't know what any of this stuff is going to unfold, you don't know what the hell these doctors are talking about or stuff like that, what would you now tell the 2 years ago Mekel? Or tell someone that's going through something similar? If you could give yourself a little piece of advice, a little sort of like nugget of motivation, what would it be?
Despite the setbacks, things do get better. Things do level out, and they do get better. You know me already. I'm a firm believer things happen for a reason, and you do question why does certain thing, why did I need this lesson to learn this? But out of it, I feel I'm, as much as I struggle with it sometimes, I feel I'm a better dad for it, because it made me address my work-home balance. I was leaving stupidly early and getting back stupidly late, and now even my boss is on my case about, why are you still here? Go home. And then I'm now wanting to do more things with the boys, and so things do get better. You might not like the process, but trust it, and we will get there.
That's really good advice. And like, tell yourself that now, like in the times where you do get some setbacks, and because there is still like a road ahead that we don't know how long it is. So like, tell yourself that now, that it is going to get better. And like you said, it's so difficult when you're going through something that's really, really challenging, and you're like, but how is this going to help me? Like, you kind of have to surrender and be like, I just need to keep going. And sometimes the next 10 steps you're going to take, and sometimes you just know that one step, and you just have to take that one step and then another step, and then just go that way. We don't always know, okay, this is the route I'm going to go, it's all going to be lovely and hunky-dory and blah, blah, blah. It's not like that in life. You might just know the next step you have to take. Do you think that in some ways your job has helped you get through this whole thing because of things like that, or other things? But do you think that maybe God or the universe or whatever you want to call it gave you that role to help you navigate your way through this stage of life?
I do. Working in the job that I do with the team that I have and the access to professionals and training that we've had along the way um, has really helped as provided coping mechanisms for everything that's happened over these past 2 years.
That's like I believe in, like what you said before, that like everything happens for a reason. I believe that you are everything that's happened in your life. I believe it's helping you to, like, I believe in lessons or blessings. So either you're going through something that's going to give you a blessing, or you're going through something that's going to give you a lesson, but ultimately both are blessings, because although the lesson is hard, it's helping you get to a next stage. And you might not want to, like, you might be kicking and screaming, but it's helping in some kind of way to, you know, it's evolution. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing and adapting. And I believe that, yeah, that everything that, you know, like your job, your kids, you know, it's these little things that if this had to happen, they're sort of like driving forces to keep you going or to help you cope, or do you know what I mean? Yeah. So how are the boys?
They are fantastic. They're really good.
I just want to highlight something that you said earlier on, about one of your sons going to someone at school and saying, like, this is what's happening, we're struggling.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that is such a credit to you and your wife, because to raise a child that is so emotionally aware of not only what's going on, but how he's feeling, and to actually say, we don't know how to navigate this, can you help? He is a credit to you both, because I don't even think I can do that now. Where does that leave you, like, in terms of, you know, trying to look after two young children is difficult anyway, but then having to deal with like added pressures about, obviously they miss their mom, and, you know, just like life is a bit crazy sometimes. Like, how do you deal with that?
You just have to find a way to tackle it. Where with my eldest, there are times where I'll just come into his room and sit and chat to him. Just, is everything okay? How are you feeling about certain things? And when things aren't going right, I'm very honest and say, look, I know we're all struggling. I'm struggling too, and I need a little bit of support here. I need you to just fix up this little bit, just to help me out a bit. And he takes that on board a lot, and probably more than he should. He gets my mood, and when he knows I'm upset about something, he does try and fix it. And I know that's not his job. He knows it's not his job, but that's what he wants to do. My youngest, he's his own entity unto himself.
So I think it's really important that you know, like you said, when you go and have those chats and sort of say to them, like, how you doing and stuff like that, because especially as males, like, it's kind of like acceptable for women to cry and sort of like, you know, deal with whatever, or, you know, whatever. But like for men, I feel like it's harder for a man to sit there and be like, I'm struggling. It was so much more difficult for a man to do that than a woman. So the fact that you're a man raising two sons, I think that's massively important to sort of like tell them it's allowed to not be okay. Like, don't stay there too long, like find a way to get out of it. But like, sometimes life is a bit much, and you're allowed to feel that way.
Yeah, it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
Yeah.
And we get it. Like I say to him when he asks me how my day was or something, I'm like, it weren't that great today. And he'll ask me why, and I'll give him like an age appropriate. I'm not going to give him like everything. So then I ask him when I ask him how his day was, and he can own his feelings on it. Like rather than just saying how was school today, it's like, right, what made you happy? What made you sad? Did anything make you laugh? Just those sorts of things. And with my youngest one, it's how was nursery okay? Who did you play with? What did you do? Try and just rather than just give them the easy out of yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
Just actually let's talk about it.
Delve a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe this kind of ties in with a previous question? Like, did you have that growing up from your dad? So do you think that having him in like that influence in your life has helped you to sort of, I don't know the word, maybe like prepare the boys, or like sort of like offer that space to the boys?
Yeah. Yeah, like just so much yes. Like even now, if I need to, I can call him and talk to him, or I can call my mum and talk to my mum. But again, I've got an older and a younger brother, and my mum said growing up, if you don't want to talk to me, talk to your brother. And even now, my little brother, 4 years my junior, will call me just to check in and see how I'm doing. My older brother, 6 years my senior, will text me just to make sure I'm doing all right. Just between us growing up, we always had that. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's not say we're all okay and we're all really pent up about. No, let's discuss it, get it out there, and then we keep it pushing and we move on.
I am convinced that your family need to either have like a TV show or write a book or something, because it's just the best house ever. And I think that as much as you're so blessed to have that, and it has helped you along the way, it doesn't, like, the point I'm trying to get at is that it doesn't matter how blessed you've been, like you all still go through some really, really difficult times. And like I said at the beginning, you know, this isn't the only difficult thing that you've been going through. Like this is maybe the most recent, and I don't like to compare things, but like it's been a big one. But
yeah,
you know, just because you have had that support from not only your family but your in-laws as well, that you know, it doesn't stop hard times from happening. Like you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the love in the world, but it's never going to stop the difficult times. And that's why I wanted to sort of create this channel to sort of like, let's normalize talking about it.
Yeah, just that level of understanding someone else's situation. Like when I do talk to my friends, sometimes I say I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to hear where I'm coming from. So I try and do that to when someone else is feeling a certain type of way. I don't always say, oh, I went through this and I did this. I try and give them their space to say how they're feeling, so they can own their feelings, rather than I don't want to compare their pain or their hurt or their success to mine. In the beginning, when things first happened, people felt guilty telling me that they were okay, or people felt guilty telling me, oh, I'm going through this, but that's nothing in comparison to what you're going through. And just because my life's in a bit of turmoil doesn't mean everyone else's life has to stop. Like,
yeah,
if you're having a great day, tell me about your great day. Maybe I need to hear some of that positivity.
I was just about to ask you, when someone, I don't know if you had this, but I had this when my brother died. People would, like, obviously you get to the point where you like people are talking about like how's your wife, how the boys, how all this, and like you kind of get bored saying about it because you've explained it to like 57 different people, and it's just like I don't want to keep on reminding myself of how difficult it is right now. So you'll be like, oh, you know, whatever, how are you doing? When someone starts telling you naturally and then they realize, oh my gosh, I'm telling you about something good, oh but it's, you know, I don't really want to talk about it, because I found it so helpful when people would talk about normal things, because it gave me them, like I said before, them seconds of normality of like, tell me about the struggles you're having with your boss at work. Tell me about the argument that you had with your boyfriend about leaving trainers on the floor or whatever. It really helped me. Did you find the same?
Yeah, yes. Even now, um, like people, how is everything? How's everything going? Da, da, da. And then there are some people who still hesitant to tell me about the good things going on with them. And it's like, no, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate your success. And you know, it's not just about me and my situation. I don't need to own every conversation like that.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I said, you need the relief. Like sometimes I don't want to talk about myself, which is why maybe I'm diverting it onto you to be like, oh yeah, so what's happening in your life? Tell me about your kids. Tell me about your job. Tell me about whatever. It's almost like the normal day-to-day things you miss the most,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Like
I,
when I'm at work and people's like, if there's anything I can do for you, do you need me to cover this so you can leave early? And I'm like, no, the normality and the routine is really good for me.
yeah,
Let's just have a normal conversation. Not everything is about the turmoil outside. Like, you know,
yeah,
it's still like it is still a day of the week. We are still here. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about TV. Let's talk about football. Let's just have a normal conversation. So for that brief moment, I can forget about what's going on and be I can be who I am in this spot. I'm not
yeah.
not grieving, but I'm not like a suffering husband or like a struggling dad. At that moment, I am me. I am Mekel. I'm in this conversation.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I just think that anyone who's watching this, I do think it's important that we have those conversations because, you know, like for us, it worked. And I think that people will let you know in a kind of way. If they don't want to listen to what you have to say, they'll either do it nicely or they'll say it bluntly, but they'll let
Yeah.
you know in a certain way. But I do think it's important that it's okay that you can talk about yourself, because actually it might be what the other person needs. They might need that relief from the heaviness, from the stress that they're going through. In the times that you find yourself maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed or struggling a little bit, what are the tools that you go to, if you have any, that help you get to a more manageable, more in control state?
Um. So it's something I talk about at work with my students. I refer to it as atlasing my problems. So Atlas carried the world on his back, and it was everything. It was this, and then it's this, and then it's this, and then sometimes it's not this, this, and this. It's just this.
So
So
you feel like it's bigger than it is, kind of.
yeah, because when you look at it, oh, I'm dealing with this, and this, and then on top of that, now I've got this. I can't manage all of that at once. I can only deal with one thing at a time. I might be able to put two things together and deal with them as a whole. But the rest of it, you've got to park that to the side temporarily. Deal with this little section.
So you're saying that like when you feel like there's all this stuff going on and like you don't sort of know how to cope with it, by zooming in and like pinpointing them into, you know, manageable chunks, that helps you to sort of deal with it. And like prioritizing as well,
Yeah,
because, you know, okay, there are some things that have to be done before others, like taking the kids to school. You can't go to your meeting with the kids and then take them to
yeah,
school. Some things have to be done before others, but also, like you said before, like there are some things where you don't want it looming over you. So like, let's just get that done, and then I can, you know, feel a bit more free and have a bit more clarity to sort of like deal with other stuff that maybe, you know, maybe a bit further down the priority list.
yeah.
That's really good. I love that. And when there are stressful times, and say there's nothing to do, or there's always stuff to do, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not like a work day where certain things need to be done, what do you do in the moment that helps you?
When I'm really struggling and really stressing out.
Yeah, and it could be that like the kids have done something, or it could just be like that life is just getting on top of you. What are those moments where you're just like, oh my god, I just need to, like, you know, where you just need like a minute, you just need a breath? Like, what do you do that really helps you?
That is it. I'd step back and I'd take that breath. And there are times where, rightly or wrongly, I will tell the boys, you know what, I can't talk to you right now. I have to take myself out of that situation, because if I stay in it, there's no constructive solution. We're both gonna end up losing our cool. We're gonna shout at each other, and it's not gonna be a nice environment. So I will say, you know what, I can't talk to you right now. Let me go. Let me do something else, and then we'll talk about it later. But even then, even me saying I can't talk to you right now, 30 seconds. Sometimes it's as little as 30 seconds, and then I can go back in and say, all right, this is what happened. Let's talk about it from there. Or even if we're in the house and we're going out, just the process of let's get our shoes on, let's get in the car. We've now had that separation from the situation because we're focusing on getting in the car. So then when we start our journey, okay, right, let's talk about it now. So
Yeah,
sometimes I do need to remove myself from it. I need to just step back and take a breath.
yeah, it's like picking your battles, isn't it? Like some
Yeah.
things like you just can't get away from, and other things you're just like, do you know what, we just need to like let this go. But you saying about taking a breath, 100%, I've done that plenty of times, especially when life feels overwhelming, and I'll be like, I'm just going in my room, I just need to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
At that point I can come out of the room, and like you said, like sometimes it's like I just need to like take a few conscious breaths. It might be like 3 breaths, takes like 30 seconds. Sometimes it might be 5 minutes, but like I just need to take myself away from the situation because I need to calm down, because if I stay in this situation I'm going to lose my cool. And I do think that you're teaching your kids good things by doing that. Like you're not teaching them to just react in the moment, in the heat of the moment where emotions are high and tensions are high, like, and that's when, you know, people say things that they can't take back and that they regret. But you're whether like you're conscious of it or not, you're teaching your kids that they are in control, but they need to look at their environment and look at like if they need to take themselves away, or if they can like stay in it and just like let it go, like pass it off as a joke or whatever. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Do you find that as time goes on you're either better equipped or more practiced in dealing with these sort of situations? Do you find you're coping better now?
For the most part, yes. I still have days where me and my friend, we talk about this a lot. We call it dips. So we just call it like how are you today? Oh, I had a dip, but I'm all right. I'm all right now. There are days where I dip. There are some days where I dip big and I will say, oh, I crashed. But for the most part, yeah. Just I don't know, the experience of living it, of just or other things, you find you sort of can read your body and read yourself and read your mood to know what do I need to do like right now to sort myself.
And I love that you call it a dip. Like it's not just like I'm having a low moment, I'm having a bad day, like it's a dip. And that's such an accurate way to describe it, because it is just it's a dip, it's a blip, like whatever you want to sort of like describe it as, but it is just a moment where things have gone slightly back down. But like dips are never down, they're always just like this. So like
Yeah,
you might be in the dip but you can come back out of the dip, and it's a lot easier to get out of a dip than it is a trench
yeah.
or a hole. Do you think that having people who are like-minded, like your friends that you say that to, like how important do you think that is enable for you to communicate that, or to even have the space available to be like, I'm having a dip today?
I think it's really good. It's really helpful because there are times where we dip, but we don't want to talk about it. So having someone who knows when to push you to talk about it, or when to say, you know what, let me give you, if you don't want to talk about it right now, we'll talk about it further down the line. So having someone who knows you like that is amazing.
And I think like I just love the dip. Like, I think because you call it a dip, it's acknowledging that you've had a shit time, but also it's not putting the heaviness on it. So like, you can go to someone, oh, you had a real dip today, like just this happened and this happened, and it's just like a space to vent, rather than be like, oh, okay, so this is what happened to me today. And for people to sort of like, I again, only speaking from my point of view, but when I was dealing with stuff and people was just like, you almost feel like they pity you. And it's just like, yes, I'm going through a hard time, but sometimes I just want to like let it all out. I just want to vent and blah, 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 blah. Then I want to talk about EastEnders or the weather or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you just need to be like, yeah, I just had a dip today.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that come out of the dip. You see it online a lot that you haven't had a bad day, you've had a bad moment in that day,
and you've dragged it out throughout the day.
And you can't let your whole day be defined by this. It might have only been like a 4 or 5 minute thing, and you've now let that mess up the rest of the 23 hours, 50 odd minutes of the rest of your day. I've just had this one small bad thing, and that's why it's a dip rather than a big thing. Okay, sometimes it lasts a couple of hours, but again, there's still 22 more hours in my day.
So our conversation got cut short because Mekel's wife actually called while we was having a chat, and obviously she takes priority. So we had to cut it short, which is probably a good thing because me and Mekel can talk for ages and ages and ages. But he did tell me afterwards that he wants to let everyone know that his boys are doing fantastic in school and they're coping as well they can, that they're hitting their milestones and exploring their own interests, and generally just thriving at life despite anything that they're going through personally. Mekel's wife is as determined as ever. She's naturally determined, and she's always focusing on the next step, the next goal that she has to achieve, and she's smashing it every time. There's still a little way to go, but she is making jokes and she's seeing the funny side of things, and she's still got that sense of humour at her core, and it's just lovely to hear. Like Mekel said, that's a real special trait to have, and she has that in abundance, and his kids do too. And I'm sure you can tell from the video you just watched that Mekel has it as well, and we wish them all the best. So I hope you enjoyed that video.